Welcome. Today we're playing Sleep Paralysis. And as you can tell, we're going to have sleep paralysis. I'll be reading. Let me quickly move myself to the side. That way we have an easier clearance. Don't mind the screen just flying away. And there we go. You're asking why I've been looking so haggard lately, as if caused by prolonged insomnia. Why do I involuntarily flinch every time the kitchen cabinet, propped up by something from the inside, opens by itself? And why in my early 30s, and I'll do my character, and why in my early 30s is the grey hair already clearly visible on my temples? Alright, listen to this creepy story. You'll be most likely laugh incredulously, as did many people to whom I tried to tell about my fear. More recently, I would have been happy to join you myself. It all started about 2 years ago. At the time, another major project was nearing completion at our company. As usual, we did not meet the deadlines and we had to return home almost at midnight. Completely exhausted, I only had enough strength to drink a bottle of beer and, without waiting for the evening news to end, fall asleep. I have never complained about sleep, especially during such periods. And the alarm clock was supposed to ring exactly at 6, so that by 6:30 I could finally crawl out of bed and start a new hot day. But I had to wake up much earlier. My eyes remained closed, and for a while, I could not figure out what. And suddenly, I felt that someone was in my room, and that is, now it is, safe to say that someone was there. At the time, it was just some kind of vague feeling. Let me just switch myself somewhere else before we continue. Above the text, yee! Lying with my face to the wall on the very edge of the unfolded sofa, it seemed to me that someone was standing behind me in the very corner. On the one hand, I couldn't know if there was someone there. Was there? Couldn't be anyone there. Yes, it couldn't. There was no sounds coming from the corner, yet in some unknown way I perceived that presence of some kind of alien. I can guess what you're going to say now. All the psychiatrists who advised me on this issue told me the same thing. Many people have similar feelings. It seems to them that they feel someone's gaze behind their back, etc., etc. If this was the end of it, I would gladly agree with you. But after that, footsteps were heard, after standing by the closet for a few seconds, and so, as if so, I could finally realize the presence of someone else. It went into the kitchen and the gate was not careful. An unknown someone apparently felt like a master and did not even try to hide his presence. These were the steps of a lonely man who suddenly needed to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I mean, the sounds were pretty distinct, but I didn't hear them in the way that people usually do. I felt footsteps. I felt as if the sounds bypassing the organs of hearing penetrated directly into the brain. Witnesses describing the experience of telepathic communication claim that the voice of the interlocutor was heard right in their head. In the same way, I perceived the presence of the creature. The footsteps seemed to be born in my brain, and at the same time, I could clearly imagine the place where they were coming from. In the same way, I felt, rather than heard, the click of a switch in the kitchen, and there was no fear at the moment. It came lighter. The creature visits became more persistent and regular. That first time, there were only a few faint knocks from the kitchen, as if someone was moving dishes left on the table. Then the switch clicked again, and the footsteps followed back to the closet. And then there was a sound that will haunt me in the nightmares for the rest of my life. The soft creak of the door opening in the silence of the night. I lay there for a few minutes, waiting for him to continue, but Everything was quiet. Only the alarm clock ticked slowly. Finally, having convinced myself that it was all a dream, I calmed down, and in the morning the incident seemed trivial and ridiculous to me. Loaded with work, I almost forgot about this case. And in the evening, my friends invited me to go to a club with them. Let me just lower it because you can't actually listen to the music. Let me just... There you go. Sadly enough, we have to not listen to this because this is actually copyrighted. But I still couldn't forget about yesterday's incident, and I thought about telling you about what is happening. Tell. I just mentioned it, half jokingly, at some party. Friends laughed. The pleasant at the horror story. Only one unknown girl changed her face. She looked at me strangely, but without giving me time to develop the topic, she turned the conversation in another direction. I think here we can play it a little bit faintly. I returned home quite late from the same party and a little drunk, hastily throwing off my clothes. I fell into bed. As you may have guessed, I woke up again before the last dawn, which was very surprisingly in my condition. We're going to move ourselves here. Through the closet bathroom door came to the muffled murmur of running water from the faucet. At first, I didn't even pay much attention to him. Alcohol was doing its job, dragging me into the abyss of a dream filled with fragments of dreams. The dream was ready to take me back into its welcome. In the morning, most likely, this incident would have been forgotten, as well as happened earlier. God, how naive people can be. But still, there was an unpleasant aftertaste. I did not want to stay there overnight. Let's lock the closet. You ask, why not lock the closet? Oh, believe me, I tried to do it. In the third closet, I found an old lock and locks that with a small key. It's left over from the old tenants. Most likely, it was needed that the child could not see his year's girlfriend of a time. One evening I did so, but it did not add peace to my mind. I had a feeling that things had only gotten worse. Something inside said, better open it. But unfortunately, I did not hear the voice of reason, and clutching the key in my fist like a talisman, I went to bed. And I woke up a couple seconds before it tried to come out. While I was still dozing, I heard it push open the door, then again and again and again. Immediately a series of blows came from the closet. The remnants of sleep instantly flew off me. Clutching the key in my sweaty palm, I waited in horror for what could happen next. The door hit several more times, more and more. There was no drumming on it, asking to open it. The blows were muffled, and not so frequent, as if someone was hitting it with his shoulder, trying to break it down with a pathetic barrier. And when it began seem next door, the door would fly out. It suddenly quieted down. I fought it, and it had calmed down when suddenly there was a terrible scream from the closet. Half scream, half it was filled with despair, nightmares, pleadings, and malice, wild, endless anger. At the moment, I was ready to scream in a bad voice and jump out onto the landing, knocking down the front door. Only a wild horror held me back, tightly binding my whole body. I didn't even have the strength to pull back the blanket, gritting my teeth and closing my eyes so hard that my head ached. I expected it to break out of its precious prison and pounce on me. If there had been seen even one more sound from the closet, I would have wet myself or remained a stutter for life. Or maybe both. Maybe it's gone. I could sleep any more that night. The end. Oh, spooky. I liked the game though. It was pretty cool. Even though it was really freaky. And I love the art style. It definitely fits the whole vibe. Don't know if the music is copyrighted. I lowered it so you don't have too much copyright, because the lower it gets, the harder YouTube can actually not process it. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.